the VAT that was reduced by government last month has not been felt by Kenyans because, as we are all aware, VAT is calculated as a percentage of the landed cost. But it is the landed cost that has been increasing. And therefore, when the numerator has been increasing, what Kenyans are paying in terms of VAT has been a moving target. Therefore, that also needs to be revised. The other thing that is very important to note is that we have seen government playing games with the fuel prices, and especially political games, out of a very serious matter that we should be all concerned about. That we see EPRA releasing their gazette notice, but every time now we have been seeing the government belatedly coming with some shenanigans of trying to reduce some components way after EPRA has given their notice. As we are all aware, fuel products, and especially diesel, is an ascendant component when it comes to production, when it comes to transportation, and basically the entire facets of the economy. And therefore, when you give signals of increasing, all the other components adjust upwards, and they are sticky. That is why it is not right for the government to again then come back and purport to give some more guidance way after fuel had been increased. We saw that last month, and we saw immediately fuel went up. The other components of the economy went up consequently, and especially transportation cost. But when the government tried to, or purported to waive some components like VAT, we never saw those prices coming down because economic parameters and pricing are sticky. They are sticky. Going up is very easy, but coming down is never that easy. So it's always good for coherence when it comes to giving the guidance of prices, and for the government to always sit down. The government is one. One arm of government should not pronounce this thing today, the other thing yesterday, the other thing tomorrow. That brings in a lot of confusion to the economy. And again, the intended gains are not realized because prices upwards are always sticky in terms of when there are adjustments. The other thing is that I have a proposal which we should follow as a country, and I'm giving this proposal because the current fuel prices adjustments and the cost of it is temporal. And all the other economies understand that this is a temporary situation. And therefore, any economy should be looking at not inflicting long-term crisis to the economy based on the current short-term decision making. So we have a choice to make as a country. Either we spend a little more money in terms of waivers and subsidies, and then we protect the economy going forward in the medium and long term, or then we become laissez-faire and we have a price to pay dearly in the medium and long term, economically speaking. The drastic fuel increment in terms of prices will hurt the economy of Kenya to tunes of hundreds of billions. But the amount we need to bring down the fuel prices is not even a fraction of that. It is too minute. And therefore, I believe that we should be looking at seeing how we can reduce the fuel prices now so that we arrest many other issues, including inflationary pressures, that will be inevitable. And this is the proposal that I have, and which is easy. One, the amount Kenyans pay at the pump for distribution and margins of importers of fuel and retailers and wholesalers is around 22 shillings. I'm proposing that we reduce by 4 shillings. Wakipata shilingi 18 hawatafuga biashara. Kila mtu sasa lazima akaze mshipi. The second thing is that we must reduce our VAT further from the current 8% to 0. In the short term, we must exempt fuel products from VAT. And the third one is that we must do away with the road maintenance levy fund, Kenya shilling 7, that was added in the year 2024 by this government. I have gone further and tabulated the amount of money that Kenyans are going to save. And if we do those measures immediately, the fuel prices in terms of pump prices in Kenya will climb down to both of them below 190 shillings, that is diesel and petrol, around 186 shillings for super petrol and 189 shillings for diesel. These issues, some of them need some involvement of Parliament, and it is for that reason that I have already written to the Clerk of the National Assembly of my intention to amend the VAT Act so that we exempt especially super petrol, diesel, and kerosene from VAT, and consequently make all those products VAT exempt and move them to the first schedule. The other thing is that I've already written to the National Assembly on the intention of amending the road maintenance levy fund by abolishing the 7 shillings that was added in the year 2024. Again, as I said before, this will give reprieve to Kenyans that the current diesel and super petrol prices should come down to around to below 190 for a liter of either. The other thing that maybe it is important for me to highlight, which is building up to that price, is also the subsidy. Diesel, as you saw in the circular, the added cost is higher. And for those prices to come to the ranges I'm talking about, we must also provision 5 billion Kenya shillings from the Fuel Stabilization Fund so that we reduce diesel by around 24 shillings. That is why the math is coming to around 189 for diesel. All those measures will stabilize our economy in terms of not have a very erratic inflationary pressures. And also we are going to have some stability in the medium and long term. Failure to do that, the price will be too high for our economy to bear. I also want to highlight 2 more things. One is that Kenyans are already complaining that the fuel products that are currently in the country seem to be adulterated diesel and adulterated with paraffin. Even when I sent this communication, I have received a lot of communication from Kenyans, clearly stating that the quality of fuel we have in Kenya, that clearly somebody is making a kill out of adulterating fuel products to make profit. This is not the time to make money out of the misery of Kenyans. I have been stating this and I want to repeat again. The G2G arrangement, Kenyans can now clearly see that it is a scam at best. And I want to state here again, the G2G arrangement is a kiosk for senior government officials. The same people you see claiming to reduce this or that are the same people who are the owners of G2G. In fact, 75% of the imports of fuel benefit our leaders directly. I'm requesting our leaders, now it is time to tame your greed. Kenyans cannot accommodate global supply shocks and also accommodate your greed at the same time. One has to give way for the other. And you must give way. The greed of the G2G cabal must come to an end now, because Kenyans can now see that fuel in terms of global prices was lower in 2022, yet Kenyans were paying cheaper at the pump. And there was no G2G then. Now when there is G2G, which supposedly we are lied to that it has any benefit to Kenyans. When we have G2G, When we have cheaper global oil prices than 2022, prices in Kenya are unprecedented. Finally, I want to request my brothers and sisters from the media, do your analysis on the regional oil prices. And you realize that among our regional economies, Kenya is the highest in terms of fuel prices. Uganda, that uses our port, is selling both super petrol and diesel cheaper than Kenya now. Tanzania, they are selling cheaper. Ethiopia, super petrol and diesel is actually below 150 shillings for both. In Ethiopia, Rwanda is also cheaper than us. That landlord countries are now selling fuel products cheaper than us. And then, as usual, we come to face the people of Kenya and blame our road network. Who should actually be charging higher? The economy with a more vast road network, or the ones that need to catch up? I think it is the ones that need to catch up. So these reasons we keep giving to Kenyans every time we evolve a lie to a bigger lie. Unfortunately, figures are not on the side of lies this time round. Kenyans are demanding that the government must do something about fuel prices. That the composition of taxes, levies, and margins, of course, you know, it's the same people in government who are taking off with it. That amount is close to 100 shillings per liter of super petrol and diesel. Because taxes and levies, we are talking about close to 75 shillings, and then the rest around 25 shillings in terms of distribution and margins. That the landed cost, for example, of super petrol is below 120 shillings. So the government cannot come and purport what we have seen some government officials purporting. Oh, global oil prices. We all understand that. You don't need to lecture us about that. We are talking about the close to 100 shillings in taxes and levies and margins. That one the government can do something about. And that is what we are demanding they must. Therefore, they must not frustrate my proposed amendments to the VAT Act and RMLF. And to my colleagues, the members of parliament, Kenyans will be watching who is on the side of Kenyans and who is against Kenyans. I'll actually initiate a process where members of parliament will sign either they support or they don't, so that Kenyans can clearly see who starts with them at this moment of crisis.